Right. What's your day like today? What does this look like? Amazing! Right, so before we start, I want you to do one thing. I want you to think, why are you here? Why are you here? And then I want you together to read what stands up there. That's why you are here. So for us to go back home and just do what we've been doing before is going to cancel out this whole family reunion. Do you realize that? Now, Keller Williams uses the ladder rings to progress and make you grow. So each of those ladder rings are the family reunions and the mega camps that we attend. That's how we grow. If it wasn't for family reunions or mega camps, Keller Williams wouldn't have been the same. Do you realize that? And in this family, there are giants. And they teach us and they help us to achieve more and more. Because if we had to do it all by ourselves, we still would have been way behind. Now, here are 4 of the giants in Keller Williams. And what you've also seen is that over the past 10 years, we've created some giants of our own. Did you realize that? Did you see them on the panels? In the beginning, we had to import everybody because we didn't have anybody here with experience to lead us and to help us. And suddenly, we are starting to compete. How does that make you feel? That is incredible, absolutely. Give yourself a hand of applause because now I'm talking about you. But I'm still scared that you're going to go back and keep on doing what you've been doing. Because then the results are going to remain exactly the same. I don't want that. I want you to double your income, to triple your income. And not when, immediately. Because you can. Do you believe that? Yes. Okay. So this is the most important panel, or the most important session of this whole family reunion. And the reason for that is we're going to have Monica and Anna and Molly and Cora help with their experience of what to do now. What are we going to do from now onwards in our lives? So that we can set the examples that they've been setting for us. Every time we're exposed to somebody that has achieved, we are starting to live that dream. That's why you're here. You're the selected group of people that have made the choice to elevate yourself to the next level and the next level. You've made that decision. Now the question is, how? How do I take from what I've learned or heard over the past 3 years to go elevate my life, to go to the next ladder ring? So I'm going to ask a few questions here. And please, ladies, if you just jump in, it's not going to be for Monica and so on. I haven't got the foggiest idea of what you know and what your potential is. I just know it's massive. So if we can share that, I'll really appreciate that. So I've got 4 questions. And if there's something that you would like to embroider on, please stop us and say, what about this? Because at this moment, there's only one of you sitting here with all this knowledge in front of you that you can utilize. use every moment, every second of what's going to be shared with you now. So, the first question, ladies, is what do I need to do now, after this incredible event, to not go back to my same old, same old?
Let me take that first, okay?
Okay.
Since I'm probably the oldest person in the room, let me share something with you. So you're sitting here. We used to sit out there. And anybody can sit up here. You just have to have the passion and the drive. But there's one thing you have to do. You have to give a hand up. So I want you to stop right now and think of one person who's not in this room. Who is not in this room that should have been here, okay? That would be number one to me, okay? Number two would be to, within 24, 48 hours max, write down your 5, 6 top ideas with a date of when you're going to complete them. You can't do all 6, 26, 46, 106. You take your top 6, then you go back and look at what's your next 6, whatever. And so the passion for me is that give people a hand up. You guys, we felt this on the group here, that you guys are so humble, so sweet, so kind, so nice. And, you know, hopefully we've made a difference. Who did we not make a difference for that should have been here? So when you give a hand up, you get so much more in back. So write that name down and tell them they missed this and they have to schedule coming the next time.
Are you taking notes, please? Because I'm not.
Yes.
I'll have to come. Clint, can I share? Thank you very much. Right.
Write that down. That was fabulous, first of all. Of course it was, and I should have known that. So we've been here 3 days now, and I guarantee you, when the question says to not go back to the same old, you're not the same old. You are not the person you were when you walked in the door 3 days ago. You aren't the person you walked in the door. You're not the person, oh, there you go, hi. So you're not the person you were 3 days ago. You're not the person you were an hour ago, because you've had so much learning. So to go back and be the same old, that would be just an unfortunate choice. My recommendation, and something I've done for years since after my very first family reunion and my head was spinning, was I take the time afterwards, whether it's the plane ride home or the next day, I take some quiet time, I get my favorite beverage, and I sit down and I literally rewrite all my notes. Favorite beverage, might have bubbles, might come from grapes, just saying. Wine, yes. And rewrite my notes, because, again, I might not remember the things that I learned 3 days ago, and they may be just as important. So that way, when I rewrite them, I can write them in an organized manner and then do what Monica said, to pick out the most important things and put a date next to them, and then go get your calendar out and put them on your calendar. Put them on your calendar.
I completely agree with Kara. It's a fantastic point. None of us are the same people that walked in here 3 days ago. I have bad news, though, too. Your habits are still what they were 3 days ago.
That's the problem.
So beware. Even though you may be changed, your habits have not yet. So be diligent, be purposeful, and be gracious with yourself. You're not going to go back and do any of this perfectly. Yet if you just keep doing it, you will change. And that's what I would do if I were you. Identify exactly the new habits you're going to implement that will change the trajectory and go from there.
Yeah. So it's hard to follow all that because that was all really good. I'm a nerd and I love neuroscience. And so I love to study the way the brain works. And what they know is if you have 3 or less goals, you will complete, take a guess, how many goals do you think you'll complete if you have 3 or less? Just hold up a number. Yeah, you'll complete 2 or 3. If you have 4 to 10 goals, how many do you think you'll complete? 1. And if you have 11 goals or more, just don't even bother setting any goals. So it goes back to what Monica said. I love how she said, pick your priorities. You might have more things you want to implement, but pick your top 3 to begin with. And then once you have those down and they're habituated, then add your next 3, and then add your next 3. But I would encourage you today to think through what's the one biggest thing you've heard at this conference that would make the biggest difference, and it's the Gary color question, right? If you did it, everything else would be easier, and don't have more than 3 that you're implementing immediately because you're setting yourself up to fail. So 3 or less goals right out of the gate, and then just to echo her, do something within 24 hours. And that could look like maybe you've realized you need to hire someone. Maybe you write down the job description for them in bullet point form in the next 24 hours. It could be something as simple as that. Don't overwhelm yourself. Do something simple.
Is it valuable? Are you listening? Are you writing? We want to change. We want to be different. We want to succeed. We succeed through others. With knowledge. Right? So what's the one thing, anybody? The one thing that you're going to do different when you go back next week? Just one that you've learned here. Madeline, what do you say?
I'm going to change my habits.
Fantastic one. Everything starts there. Anybody else? What you're going to change?
Wait, Johan? Which one habit? Pick, what's her name?
Madeline.
Madeline? Which one habit are you going to change? Because change my habits, that's a lot of stuff. So pick one and do that. Okay. And prioritize. Okay. Okay. You're making me nervous there. Okay.
Did you hear that? How suddenly it moved from 1 deep to 3 deep, just like this. That's the secret of success. Yes, another one who said,
The one that sticks in my brain is carrots. There is nothing that 24 a day can't fix.
right. Anybody else?
She said, just for those that couldn't hear, she said there's nothing that 20 calls a day won't fix. That was her takeaway.
I want another one, please.
Behind you.
Ask power questions.
Who else? Which one? I know you want 50, or you want to share 50, but there's one to give now.
For me, I'm going to go back and choose team leaders to do script practice with because professionals practice.
So for me, it's not focusing on listing everything, but listing 5 quality listings.
Okay. Who else? There. Ike.
So from what Molly said, she said when she was comfortable, she was the most unproductive. And I was thinking, well, I need to get more uncomfortable, so that's what I'm going to do. Just do the things I don't want to do, but I need to do them, so that's what I'll do.
Name one thing you're not comfortable with.
Well, sometimes it's conversations with well-groomed agents, because I sometimes feel I don't know as much as they do. So it's that fear of how can I answer questions that they ask and without looking like a fool. So that's an uncomfortable situation.
How can you make that happen?
Just by learning more from the agents I already have in the market center. Yeah, do role plays and things like that. Yeah.
Does that going in your schedule?
Yes, definitely.
How many times a day or a week?
Well, I'll start with once a week to get it rolling.
No.
Once a day.
You wanna wait to create massive wealth and legacy?
No,
You
I
do
don't
it
wanna wait.
if you did it every day and you did it 20 times a month, would you be better than 4 times a month?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, good.
All
Thank you
right.
for coaching with me.
Thank you.
Ike, you're going to be a different man next week. Another one. Karen.
So I think my biggest takeaway was Anna's session this morning. I need to relook at all my scripts for lead gen so that my lead gen is more powerful and more purposeful. So sitting down, rewriting and relearning, re-internalizing all my questions that I need to ask.
Yeah, why waste time? Don't waste your
Can I make a suggested action item? Is that all right? Okay. So I never thought when I became a MAPS coach, coaching high-level professional business people that were like very hungry, growth-oriented, you know the number one most common thing that they concluded they needed accountability for? Going to bed on time. So often these things we want to do, they're part of why their heart is retired. And that never came from me. I never suggested go to bed on time, but through asking questions, I just observed that was the most common thing that people said they wanted accountability with, because that made everything else easier. So just felt compelled to share. There you go.
So what Anna said is so true. Your schedule starts the night before. So somewhere during the day at 4 or 5 o'clock, you're looking at your schedule for the next day so you don't wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning going, did I remember to write that down? Did I do that? And then you go to bed at least Sunday through Thursday at the same time. And so that's your schedule starts the night before, and you have to be consistent with that. You got to get your family on board with that, whatever you need to do. That's part of the discipline to be a very successful agent.
I feel like changing what I was about to say to just that. Thanks. I do need more sleep. But I think from observing the giants over these 3 days, I think the big thing that's so clear is these scripts are so well memorized that it's part of your language. And so I really respect that, and I think every single day I'm just going to memorize those scripts. That's going to definitely be a big focus for me.
Fantastic. Okay, just a moment. All right. Thank you. Can you hear me now? This is a super guy. Right, we're going to go to the next question, and then I'm going to ask you again, after thinking the one through that you wanted to ask, but you're still going to ask it. So the next question, lady, is how do you incorporate new learnings into your business, your day, your life, and your mindset?
Okay, so when you look at your schedule for the rest of the year, I would ask each of you to evaluate how much learning is in there. So at the beginning of every year, I've pretty much nailed all the different events that I'm going to. And some are learning events that have nothing to do with real estate. And yet I go pay the money, I go to learn for one idea. I'm just looking for one magical idea. So your training schedule begins at the beginning of the year, and it's still time for you to look at that. The other thing, and I'm sure I'm taken away from these other gals here that will say the same thing, I love learning. I usually go to at least 2 months of seminars a year, at least 2 months, and I know you guys do when you start to add it up. So we have a large commitment to learning, and I love to be challenged and think about new things. And so real estate can be tough, and it can be boring, and it can be a grind, and yet you're looking for that new edgy idea, that simple button, and sometimes it's just the same old stuff over and over again. And yet we have to learn how to perfect that. So put learning in there. Go on YouTube. If you search all of our names, there's on YouTube. Just say, okay, I'm going to spend at least, depending on where you are in your business, 1 hour a week on learning something, watching something. And then you always at least read one business book a month. One business book a month.
So I'm a big believer in find what works for you, and I'm a very visual person. So for me, I sat down in September and thought through what are the things I want to do in 2023, and I made a chart. It goes 12 weeks at a time. It's hanging in my bathroom at my house on my mirror, so I see it every morning when I'm getting ready for the day, and I have it broken down with health, there's business growth, personal growth, and because it's the 3, right? Mm-hmm. And in each category, there's no more than 3 goals, because we know that that's neuroscience, right? And there's a little chart. And I am not a chart person. I am not like a big, sophisticated tracking person. But I've just noticed for me, the checklist helps, and it keeps me from getting way off track. And I like to do it where if I have a goal, or I do have a goals on there, it's usually 4 or 5 times a week is the goal, so that I have room to be also human. And that really has worked for me. When I used to have 7 days a week, I'm going to do this thing, I would fall behind and then feel like I was failing and then I wasn't getting it done. And since I've changed it to 4 or 5 times a week, I'm going to do this thing, I'm hitting it every time. And interestingly enough, I'm usually doing these habits more, closer to 7 days a week at times. So that's what works for me. Find what works for you. I love the visual checklist.
Visual checklist, that's good. For me, I like everybody up here, I'm a perpetual learner. I win trivia contests. I don't win them. I demolish other people because I'm just full of all kinds of useless information. I love, love, love to learn. And yet the second part of how do I incorporate it into everything I do? Maybe there's some of you out there that were like me probably about 10 years ago. I got into real estate 20 years ago for the freedom and flexibility and all the financial wealth. And boy, I was really good at that freedom and flexibility thing, right? You're not the boss of me. I make my own hours. I don't make any money, but I make my own hours. And then I started making money, and then I had no hours. And what I realized, and this was really out of necessity, was I got accepted to be a Bold coach at the time, and I realized that I'm going to live and die by my schedule because I had to be out on the road 2 or 3 days, or I was choosing to be out on the road 2 or 3 days to teach Bold. I was still running a very successful real estate team that was doing about 120 units a year, and I was the listing agent. And I really like my husband, and I love my daughter, and I wanted to see them too. And I realized that if I didn't start scheduling their time first, then the things that were immovable, just like Gary teaches us, put the family time first, then the events, then your 5 parts of your job: lead gen, lead follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate contracts, practice, and role play. And I always say, not in that order, practice and role play first. Put those on your calendar, and the freedom and the flexibility comes. I now work 3 days a week. I have a very full coaching schedule. I teach Bold. It's make the decision to do different, right? Molly talked about do better, do different. It's going to feel uncomfortable at first, and that's okay. Let it be uncomfortable until it's not. Because once you master that habit of living and dying by your calendar, you can get really comfortable in the times that are meant to be comfortable. I can focus on my family when I'm with them. I don't have to be on my phone all the time. Mm-hmm. And when I'm working, my family knows, don't you bother me. Unless there's blood, fire, or death. Those are the only 3 things.
Blood, fire, death.
Blood, fire, death.
Let me add one more thing.
Oh, come on. Let's go.
We've heard enough. Okay, come on. Yeah, she's in the middle. She'll never get it. This is right. Okay, later. So
Molly,
write down these 4 categories. The first category is me time. If you don't do me time, whether it's spiritual, reading scriptures, Rion here asked me, what do you do in the morning? I said, I have an 1.5-hour routine with my dogs, and that's what I do. And it's just all about me, because then I've taken care of me. And I know some of you have young families and just get up earlier. I was there too, right? So then the second thing is family time. So you schedule a family night, date night. You schedule a family time on the weekends, and then you're covered. And never break your rules. Never, never, never. And I know there'll be an exception, but really say to your family, Saturday mornings are for us. We go for breakfast, whatever. The other thing is date night. So if you're married, your boyfriend, you're dating, whatever, girlfriend, you want to put date night in. Then the fourth one is work. So remember, God, family, business. Mm-hmm. Do you see what I just did? But if you don't take care of me, whether you work out, whether you do this or not, whatever, be sure that you have those 4 categories covered. The first 3 are the most important. The rest is easy. Now, did I take everything from you, I hope?
Not at all, Monica. You're amazing. I wrote it all down. Thank you. So I love learning new things. I learned from Kara just now that she's a badass at trivia, so I'm going to steal her for all my teams. So funny enough, I think I love learning as much as Kara does, and I'm the worst at trivia. I'm that girl who's like, oh, yeah, the guy with the thing who has the stuff and does the thing with the thing.
And I would say Matt Damon.
And she would say Matt Damon, and we'd make a great team. Right. So for me to answer this question, I'm not so always awesome at retaining the specifics. So my advice to y'all is while it's there, rewrite it down. I love what you said about grabbing your favorite beverage and sitting and rewriting your notes. And when you rewrite those notes, man, put some of the ahas in there as well. Turn it into an action item. Spend a bit of time with that. Because if you're one of the folks like me who ends up at the end of the day going, oh, what was the thing about the stuff that I did about the thing? 8%. We learned from Anna yesterday, 8% of what you don't write down, you won't remember, right? So like we talked about in the main session yesterday, it's very, very important at the end of the day, just 2 things. What did I learn and what did I do well? Do that consistently and you'll build that encyclopedia of knowledge.
Wow. That's simple. Take control of your life. That's what it's about. So I need to carry on with the one thing that you're going to do to change your life. Where was that, Mike? There it is at the back. You still want to answer the question? The mic with you.
Johan, this part of it, I always say, come from the heart of a teacher, because what you heard, and all of you should write down what anybody's saying, because there's something there that you missed or you weren't in that class that could possibly change your life. So come from the heart of a teacher and share.
It's a beaut.
So for me, it was actually in one of the classes yesterday, Molly mentioned choose better more. And for me, that's certainly something that I'm going to be doing. I'm quite a bit of a people pleaser, and that hasn't worked for me. So going forward, I'm going to be choosing better more.
Thank you, first of all, for everybody. You've changed people's lives here, that I can tell you. I think there's many things, but I think the one thing that really blew my mind, Kira, was when you said to me, because you're right, whoever said that when we leave out here, Gary says life will happen, and life doesn't owe us anything. It doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's good, it's just life. And sometimes then we get into a negative spiral, and we think negative thoughts. What if it doesn't work? What if I'm not good enough? What, and coffee pot drama. And Kira said one thing to me. She said, the best thing that you can ask a person is, what would you be without that thought? And I think that absolutely blew my mind. What would you be without that thought? How will we go? Yeah, or for me, that has stretched my mind that it can't go back. What would you be without that thought? That I'm not good enough, that I can't do it, that it's too difficult, that it's too hard, that whatever it is.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
What-
Anybody else?
What if we taught our children that?
What would the world
What would the
become?
world be like?
What will it be like? That's you. Right at the back.
Firstly, thank you to all our guests. You guys were all phenomenal, and we've learned so much from you. The one thing that I am going to take away is something that happened today. Often, as an agent in the field and now as team leader, I see so many of us struggling with not the what to do it, but the how to do it. And today it started with you, Kara, in the morning, and it ended with you, Anna, when we spoke about neuro-linguistic programming. And the one thing that I'm going to take away is how to acknowledge and validate our agents and our clients and go 3 deep. And the key there for me that I will take away, and I shared this with you earlier, Anna, is mirror the words they use. So often we interpret it in our way and we put down what we think they mean. We make the notes, we do all of that, but we never take the time to use their own words. And that was the key for me today. Thank you so much.
Keyword backtracking there, huh?
Thank you very much. Right. In this group, there are quite a few coaches. Keller Williams coaches. Am I right? So I would like to know from our panel, how would you hold your coachees accountable who attended this event? Some advice.
Go ahead. Do it quick before she grabs it. Do it. Oh, man.
You got it.
No, you.
Okay. So for this one, I said it, and I learned it from these guys. Accountability should be painful. It should be uncomfortable. If looking ahead at the next things doesn't make you a little bit scared or a lot of bit scared, then you're probably doing it wrong.com. So connecting with accountability and allowing yourself to be worth it, to be worth the pain, and to put yourself in a position where you're not willing to take no change. Don't let nothing be the action that you take. It's gonna be real easy. It's very tempting. You've had a busy 3 days. It's super easy to go home and be like, woo, that was awesome. I learned a lot. And I'm done. Yeah. So find something painful, and I mean that. I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, you get into action when things move you. We can't always move ourselves. We teach that all the time, that the lowest form of accountability is holding yourself accountable. It can be done. It's the most difficult version of accountability if you're looking for results. If you're looking to check the box and say, I did the cool thing, fine, maybe next year.
Wow. I think what this comes down to for me is I can't hold someone accountable. I can inspire them. The motivation has to come from within, though. So if for the coaches in the room, when you're talking to your clients and they're not doing what they say they want, it's because they don't understand the purpose behind it. Right? We talked about purpose this morning. Once they understand the purpose, and if that purpose is big enough, they're going to hit the ground running. They're going to jump out of bed every morning and go do. So the same way Estelle and I were talking earlier, a simple question that we could all ask ourselves whenever we're at that precipice of, do I want this? Don't I want this? I don't know what I want. Ask yourself just these 3 simple words. For what purpose? And then write it down. And then ask again. Whatever the answer was, for what purpose? For what purpose? And just allow your brain, allow your pen to just flow and keep asking yourself for what purpose. You'll find your purpose. It's there. It's right in front of your face. You're looking too hard for something, thinking it has to be something different, bigger, whatever. Your purpose is right in front of you. When you know your purpose, you're willing to do whatever it takes to achieve that. Unless there's a little bit of a program you're running in your head where you think that maybe you're not worth that. And if you think you're not worth it, hire a coach. Hire a coach. They'll help you with that.
That was sweet. I'm meaner than a junkyard dog.
For what purpose?
What? Well, no, it was nice, but I'm meaner than a junkyard dog. When you come into my schedule, it's not because we're going to be friends. It's because you know I'm going to beat on you. I should have been in football, NFL coach. So when you come into my schedule and you say you have this goal, and then we have certain benchmarks each week, and then I say, okay, so you agree that you're going to do 20 contacts a day. And if you miss those 20 contacts a day, you agree based on your goal, because it's the activities that support the goal, that you agree on Saturday that you're going to make up that time, or on a Thursday night you're going to make up that time. Is that agreed? Yes. At the end of the month, let's agree that you should have made 400 contacts. If you have not accomplished that, let's agree that we're going to shift your goal down. And you're going to tell your family that they're going to have less experiences of travel or whatever it is, or food, whatever it is. So in 1 month, every month, you're going to be accountable. And if you don't want that strength of a coach, then I'm not the right person for you. I want your goal right now more than you do. You need to prove you want this goal. And it's great about the why and their purpose and all of that. They have to have that. But if you want to attain what you want to attain in this room, it's up to you. It's not up to your coach. You have to get up in the morning at the right time. You got to go to bed at the right time. You got to study your skills. There is so much opportunity for you to help people buy and sell real estate if you learn the systems, the models, and take the time to learn the skills. Everyone in this room could be zillionaires. It's just, do you want to do the work? Do you want to do the work?
Whoa.
So I'll find the purpose, and then we'll turn you over to Monica.
It's one of those. Actually, Monica, we all knew that, but we don't want to do it. We all know exactly what you said. We knew it. But do we do it? Because we've got the same potential as Monica. What Monica has achieved is absolutely incredible. I'm picking on Monica because I know her a bit better. It's absolutely incredible. And then you go find out, what did she do to become incredible? And then I say, whoa, am I prepared to do that? Have I got the potential to do that? Absolutely. So that's the decision you've got to take. Because you can take anybody's place. You can be anything that you think you can. It's just that decision. And what you see in front of you, these four ladies made that decision many years ago. And that's the result. Now, I would like to think how many agents in Keller Williams, from Althea onwards, has been influenced by them. Are we talking tens, hundreds, thousands? Because even agents that's not in Keller Williams has been influenced by them. So we're talking hundreds of thousands of people and their families and their clients. Is that the kind of legacy that impresses you? Absolutely. So is there value when Anna, Molly, Cora, and Monica teach you and tell you what to do? Massive, incredible value. And that's my fear, that we're going to go away here and say, that was fantastic. Oh, the best family reunion ever. And then I do nothing about that. That's my fear. Because when I stand here and I see all this potential, I say, oh my goodness, look at this explosion, because now it's not only potential, it's the knowledge to go with the potential. They now know how to do that. Are you prepared to take that decision? That's the question. It's a scary thought, isn't it? Very scary to think you can make that massive jump and get anything you want because you've decided that you want to. And basically it comes down to the fact that there's no excuse. Because before you didn't know how to do it. Now you know. Don't you think that's serious?
Johan, can I just point something? You struck something when you said that. We've got 350 attendees here.
Yeah.
If they each make one positive change in their life in the next day, week, month, look at the collective energy shift, positive energy shift that will happen just as the result of you being in this room. So here's my challenge to you. Don't be the guy or girl who doesn't do that one thing. Be the collective. Everybody commit. Go find that one thing that you're going to do. Like the first question is the result of you being here. And go do it. And create the giant red wave. You've got the potential. It's here. Go do it.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the last question here. What must you do to reprogram yourself to action what you've learned here? That's exactly it.
Yeah, I would say a huge part of that is what you tell yourself. And if I can be totally vulnerable as a MAPS coach, I used to hear about affirmations, and I thought it was just a bunch of baloney. I thought it was rah, ridiculous, if I'm honest. And I remember years ago when I was new to all this, I just thought, I mean, is it going to hurt me to say an affirmation? I don't think it's going to hurt me. And so I just started saying, at the time I was working on a health goal, and I just said, it feels amazing to hit the health goal and then tell everyone about it at family reunion. This was 2017. And I didn't tell anyone that that was my affirmation. And here's the thing I've learned about affirmations is I used to do them where I had a different positive statement every day. And sure, that was nice. But what I realized is you have to say the same one over and over and over and over and over. I am way big into off-roading. A couple of you, after talking to me, said, you're a lot different than we thought because you're dressing all professionally. Like, I'm usually in my truck off-roading somewhere, doing something outdoors. And I've noticed on my favorite off-road trail that I used to turn left, and I hadn't been for about 6 months. And that left turn, I couldn't find it because it was totally overgrown with weeds and new growth, and a new path had been made to the right. But here's the thing, the only reason that path had been made to the right is repetition, right? If I said, let's go out into the woods and create a new path, and all of us just ran randomly every day in a different spot, we're never going to create a new path. Are y'all tracking with me? And the way to create a new path is the repetition of going the same way day after day. So that became my thing. It feels amazing to hit this health goal and talk about it at family reunion. And I didn't tell anyone I was even saying that to myself. Well, after about 6 weeks, I started to believe it. And so know that when you're working on changing your thinking, you usually feel like you're lying to yourself because you don't believe it yet. And you just have to keep telling yourself over and over and over and over. And what I want you to know is I hit the health goal, still hadn't told anyone I wanted to talk about it at family reunion, and I stood up at an event to ask a question, and our leader at the time saw me and said, come up here and tell everyone what you've done. And I got to talk about it at family reunion. And the thing I'd been telling myself came true. But if you had asked me that 7 months when I started, I felt like what I was telling myself was a lie. Does this make sense? So that was my big takeaway with positive thinking is I can't say a different one every day to be truly effective. So something we do in one of my classes is we say, write down the thing that you believe about yourself that's hurting you the most, and it feels really yucky. And then underneath of it, you write down the complete and total opposite. And then you scratch out the negative one so much that you can't even read it anymore if you tried. And you've created your statement, and you do it over and over and over. So just know you will feel like you're lying to yourself if you say something you don't yet believe, and you just have to keep doing it.
Yeah, you should clap for that. That's pretty good stuff right there. Yes. So when it comes to reprogramming yourself to action on what you've learned, the thing I want y'all to be aware of is two really, really, really common phrases that I think we are a little too conditioned to allow ourselves to buy into. So watch out for these two phrases coming up in your mind in the next couple of weeks. The first one is, I had no choice. You always have a choice. Remove that from your vocabulary. Yeah, I would have done the thing that Johan taught me, but I had no choice. I had to go pick up my kids. Careful. I made a choice to pick up my children because it was the right thing for me to do in that moment. The other thing I want y'all to be careful of is listening to the phrase that says there's no excuse. There's always excuses. There are, in fact, millions of excuses. Your challenge is not to choose them. You can make an excuse or you can make a plan. I'm going to give a real quick example on make an excuse or make a plan. I'm now at day 1,058 in a row that I've exercised a minimum of 35 minutes a day. Thank you. On January 22nd, I had a flight to South Africa to come hang out with my buddies. It's a 16-hour flight and a 7-hour time change. I'm real good at math. So there's 23 hours now in my day. Great excuse not to exercise, right? So did I want the excuse or did I want the plan? What do you think? All right. Yeah, I'm that girl on the plane in the middle of the night, standing in the bulkhead doing air squats every 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for 35 minutes. You think I got some funny looks? Did I care? Make a plan. Don't make an excuse.
Yo.
You know what's interesting about that is, as some of you may have heard Molly say this, I actually coach Molly. And that was something she brought up on one of our calls. Like, I don't know. I said, you'll figure it out. And she did. And I would like to think that just you bringing it up was your way of saying, I'm committing to do this.
On your way back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Of course. On the way back, I'll get 7 extra hours so I can work out twice.
Whatever. I can't count to 1,058. That's my one of a million excuses. All right. So, all right. Again, to reprogram yourself to the action you've learned. Reprogram yourself. You know what? 1, just do it. Quit making the excuses, just do it. Number 2, for those that are really looking to make a certain change in an area of your life, there's a really cool tried and true thing that, man, I wish I would have known about in college. And maybe they had this, but I was right after the dinosaur age, where they started having like chuck wagons and people like that, horse-drawn carriages, when I was in college. Remember wanting to learn something and going, oh, I didn't study for that test. I wish I could just put my head on the book and learn everything while I sleep. Well, now there's these really cool things like all the apps we could use, and there's Audible. Do you have Audible here? With all the books, right? So one of my favorite things to tell people when they're looking to make a change in one of the 7 circles of their life is to get the Audible book of The Secret. It's not old. It's not new. It's old. It's about manifesting things in your life, changing your beliefs. And what I tell them to do is listen to it first. It's only about 4 hours long if you listen to the whole thing, and then pick the chapter that coincides. I work with a lot of people who want to build wealth. So I have them focus on the wealth building and the money chapters, which are only 23 minutes long, and I have them put that chapter on repeat in earphones as they go to sleep. Very low. It's amazing how when you hear a message over and over and over and over and over again, all of a sudden 4 days, 5 days, 2 weeks later, you're spewing stuff out and you're like, where did that come from? It came from the fact that you've been listening to it. So whether it's physical health, whether it's spiritual, whatever it is, that's one of my tried and trues. Give it a go. Give it a go. See what might happen.
Okay, so one of the things that I do is I have an inspiration corner. And Johan has been in my office at home is dedicated to all of Africa. I have all these wonderful African artifacts. And even more now with another suitcase, right. So it's all about Africa. But I have this inspiration corner that has my kids, my grandkids, and I've got 3 15-year-old grandsons. They're very questionable right now. And then I've got a lovely little grandson that's, 7 months old. And then I have a granddaughter that's 3 and a granddaughter that's 10 that I could honestly say to most people, I don't really like her until I change my mindset. And somebody said, she's just like you. And I go, she's perfect, right? So now she's my favorite, right? So they're on my inspiration board. And it could be a drawing that they did. And then I have what I call the dominoes. And so it doesn't cost much to buy the dominoes. And I put on there, because I learned I can't put a marker on there, so I put a little sticky thing on there and, get this little machine and put it on there. So one is health, one is live to be 100, and then the other ones are things that possibly what you learned here today. So Anushka taught me something today, and I learned a lot from a lot of you, but I happen to remember this one, that when she doesn't get the price she wants, she puts it on the back of the contract. Hope I'm doing this right. Puts it on the back of the contract, makes them sign saying, this is the price that I recommended. And I thought, damn, gum, I should have done that a lot sooner, right? Mm-hmm. So you always want to have a place where you go and get inspired. So in that inspiration board, you're only going to put up one thing that you learned from this conference. And then when that's accomplished, with the date, then you take it down and you put up your next one thing that you want to accomplish. And so So when you look at your inspiration board, there are times in real estate, and I know you've been there, I go, I got to get me a real job. Maybe I'll go back to teaching. Even though I hate kids, I'm going to go back there. You know, or maybe I should have gone to law school. Is it too late? So there are times where you really question things. And then when I look at that, now here's the key. When anyone's ever said something nice to you in an email or sent you a thank you note, you put those up there. And it's so nice and gratifying to go, okay, that was a tough day today. Oh, okay, good. Yes, okay, that's great. That's exciting. So does that make sense? So you have your thank you, gratitude place where you can go and get really centered again into why you're doing what you do and how you help people and how you help your family and how you change the generational wealth of your family.
Beaut. Beaut. I want my study full of American artifacts.
Okay.
Monica, this is so cool. Did you hear what she just said? It's amazing. She's got a couple goals in there. She wants to live to 100. She said, man, could I be a lawyer again? Is it too late? Girl, you still got like 6-7 years. You'll be fine.
You know what? You know what?
I got her back. I got her back.
Let me tell you something. I wanted to be a divorce attorney, right? And I wanted to be a divorce attorney, and my mom and dad go, no. You should be a nurse or a school teacher because you can always fall back on that. Really? So, yeah, it's not too late. I'd love to go to law school. Why not?
I have 6 years left. You're fine.
But I want to say one thing. First of all, we need to honor Johan. Who in their right mind would allow some 80-year-old woman to convince you to bring in a company named Keller who? And start this unbelievable opportunity, culture, and experience for all of you to build the most amazing businesses, legacies, and lives. So, Johan, I would have never had the courage you did.
Thank you, but you know, it's simple. I didn't do it myself. It's not about me. I achieved nothing, basically. But when I look at whoever is around me now, that's where it comes from. And there are quite a few that unfortunately isn't in KWSA anymore. But they're still there. They also count. And from all of them, you have grown. So by far, the person that enjoys this family reunion and every family reunion in South Africa the most is me. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that. But that's, what you said is not true. That was not courage. I had the right people. Thank you.